Though there may be corruption and there may have been cases in the past of corruption from lobbyists or interest groups, there are still benefits to why companies or organizations what maybe should in fact spend the money to lobby. One of the leading companies in this business or in the lobbying is actually General Electric, who has been at the top of the list since President Obama took office. The manufacturing giant has spent around $134 million on lobbying activities since January 2009, according to the CRP. While the reasons vary, it's probably got a lot to do with taxes. The company famously paid zero taxes to the US government in 2010 by using a series of deductions to report a $408 million loss in America, even though its international business made $10.8 billion. This is one of the ways that companies are able to find a loophole and evade taxes. Here, there are no laws being broken. However, you could argue that it may not necessarily be fair to the country's economy. The second company on the top of the list is Comcast. Surprisingly, you would think they're really not a great company, however, they have invested a lot of money in lobbying. They rank highly in recent years, having dropped $86 million on lobbying since 2009. It's for good reason though. The telecommunication has been trying or is currently awaiting an antitrust approval for its $45 billion takeover of the rival Time Warner Cable, a deal that has faced criticism from its being potentially anti-competitive. Anti-competitive, also known as monopoly, which we know very clearly is illegal. However, you spend the money in Congress to try to get your interests approved. These are some of the results. You may or may not have a completely non-competitive market for your company. But Comcast is incredibly well connected in Washington, a strategy that has paid off in the past. In 2011, it convinced the government to approve its $30 billion acquisition of NBC Universal, which most people probably don't even realize, but Comcast does have and has acquired that network. This is creating, you could say, some controversy among some of the abilities of these companies with the amount of resources financially that they have to lobby for certain interests that really could be seen or could be interpreted as the intention of acquiring a monopoly in a certain area. Additionally, and maybe surprisingly, Google obviously spends quite a bit of money when it comes to lobbying. However, they're not even in the top 10. They're actually about 16 when it comes to spending on lobbying. Google spent about $60 million, which in comparison to $134 million that as I already mentioned, General Electric has spent, it's not much. This was in the last year in comparison to $4 million back in 2009. So they haven't really emphasized or prioritized the investment into lobbying. The tech company has trusted with the Federal Trade Commission over net neutrality and has been able to, or has had issues in regarding surveillance with the NSA in regards to customers and their email information. Also other kind of personal information that also gets recorded, or as you can call it, data mining. It is all saved, and they've run into some issues, so it is in their benefit to invest in lobbying to make sure that internet neutrality remains the same and there are no laws that may hinder on their ability to conduct business as they have in the past. However, as I mentioned, this is not an area where they are spending a great amount of money in comparison to other companies, unlike some may assume or think. These are some of the top companies that we see, or corporations that we see, spending money and lobbying, and some of the reasons why they are invested in such interest. And all in all, pretty much boils down to the amount of money they make, the profit that they're making, their ability to create or build upon ideas, or just to lock in a certain market, regardless of the reasoning or whatever the benefits they may reap from or not. It is, you could say, essential for a big corporation, whether it's private or public. Either way, it is in their best interest to make such investment, to assure that their interests are being protected, or also granted certain accesses to further the growth of the business.